Duto Realty is a homegrown business with an eye for getting the job done right. From football games to Sunday school and everything in between, these ladies care about our community and the people in it. Helping buyers and sellers in all of Florida with all types of transactions, including residential, commercial, farm, or vacant land. They do it all. They even offer auction services and sellouts to always get the job done right. Welcome back to another edition of the Goblay Show. I'm your host, Billy Goble, and today we have a special guest, a good friend of mine from back out over at Disney. We worked together, and we got a lot to talk about. So we're just going to go ahead and get into it. And he's got his own podcast, and so we're going to mention that too. But without further ado, please welcome to the show my good friend Nick Lammert. Nick, welcome to the show.
How's it going, Billy?
What's up, man? But my favorite tying those two with the drink thing is one of my favorite skits on SNL is Horatio Sands plays Carol. Okay. That he dresses up like a woman and he goes, "Hi, I'm Carol," and it's and so they do a skit and he's up there like at a bar and he's like, let me get and he just started, let me get a Shamrock Shake with a side of Jameson. And the guy's like, what? He's like, that's Shamrock Shake, that's McDonald's and it's July. They don't even have that's St. Patrick's Day. Right. And then he says, oh, the heck with it, just give me some Mad Dog 2020 and crush some No-Dos up in it. The worst combination of a drink you can like. Right. Oh like, man, that's like a witch hazel and Kahlua or something, you know. Hand lotion and Kahlua or something like that. We like to go to those taste tester things and stuff, but the wine, what do they call? They're not. It's a winery. There you go.
Winery. Yeah.
It just came to me as winery. So we go to those sometimes, and down not far from where I grew up. There's a winery there, and it's they have a huge. It's like the Catalina wine mixer. Right. Okay. They have this huge, I guess in the South you would call it a jubilee, like this gala event where they had all these tents up and people can go in there and they buy wine and stuff like that. But I didn't know if you'd ever been to those distilleries up in Pigeon Forge.
We've been to Biltmore and stuff like that too. Like
I've never been there.
But dude, you gotta go. You gotta go. It's like unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's the size of this house, and to know that it was one man that built it, and what they've done around it, and they've preserved it, and what went on in that house and stuff like that was unbelievable. And you can go hiking, and there's so much to do. And and they have a winery, very, very good. I know you were talking about winery, port wine. I love me some port wine. Normally I'm a white wine guy, but port wine is dark red, but it's aged in whiskey barrels. It's known as a dessert wine.
Okay.
Like a Moscato. I drink it all the time. I'll drink it before dinner, during dinner, after dinner. It's good. It's
9 a.m.
9 a.m. Yeah. And I've had it at the St. Augustine distillery too. They have port wine there.
Been there. That's pretty cool. Yeah. That's a nice place. Mm-hmm. We went to Charleston.
Okay.
Yep. And how far is that from you?
About an hour and a half, I think.
Well, that's not bad.
Yeah, not too bad.
So we went there to vacation one summer, and I had never been to Charleston. And so, you're going and you're kind of figuring out everything that's new there. And we stayed in downtown Charleston. And to me, Charleston, Savannah, and St. Augustine all are the same. They're just
historic.
Right. Yes. Mm-hmm. They're the fishing town, historical.
Town. Oh, yeah. Historical.
Right. Spanish build, you know what I mean? Port town, like you said,
haunted.
Yes, haunted.
They're all haunted.
I was going to ask you if Biltmore was haunted. It's not haunted, is it?
I don't think so. I don't think they didn't say like they did like a ghost tour or anything like that. I don't think it'd be haunted. Could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, we took a tour, on the what do you call it? The horse and buggy tour.
Right.
And you're driving around that town or you're riding and they're like, yeah, and over here we had a duel. I'm like, oh my gosh, people used to gang, baby.
Yep. They go knock on your door. Excuse me, sir. You looked at my wife wrong, and I grab your pistol, and it's like, okay. It's like
challenge you to a duel.
Somebody's getting shot today.
Yes.
That's like, wait, is it Wednesday? Can we put our dead bodies out on the sidewalk today? Like,
do I need to move my carriage?
Yeah. Bring out your dad.
Is the street sweeper coming today?
Yeah. Got walking down with bodies.
So we went to my at the time Caden, my stepdaughter, she was into Outer Banks.
Okay. I couldn't get into it.
Well, I've only seen bits and pieces of it. I really haven't really sat down and made myself watch it, but she was a big fan of the show. And so they do all the filming locations there and like Hilton Head and all that, all the marshes and the Outer Banks. So in Charleston, there's like several different shooting locations and stuff where they film most of the stuff. Well, we went to different places, and one place was we took a boat, and it was like us and probably 10 other people, 15 other people, and they would take us to this island. This where this old lighthouse is, and the lighthouse was on Outer Banks. But the problem is you got to get this island. You can't get this. The lighthouse is like decommissioned, and you can't even get in it. Right. So it's like when the tide goes out or in, you can kind of walk to it, but you can't get inside of it. So it's pretty pointless to go look at it. But it's cool. It's still a lighthouse. Right. But we get to this beach, and they drop us off like it's Normandy, like they hit the coast, and they're like get out,
watch the mosquitoes.
And the guy who was our tour guide, he was a marine biologist, and he was a really cool guy. And he was telling us about the marshes and the Outer Banks area, and he's like, yeah, and he goes, and this island here, they have all these birds that are nesting, so you can't walk certain places. But we noticed as we're walking, these beautiful shells. I mean, they are beautiful. They're like ones you would buy in a store, like in a gift shop. Man. And in Florida, you'll find shells, but they're
mostly broken up.
They're broken because somebody's ran them over,
right? Or it's just real rough,
or they've been beat on the beat. Yeah, something nature's destroying them.
Right.
So we had a bag, and we're like kids at a Easter egg hunt. We're like
it's popping in, right?
So when we pick them up, we're looking inside. There's nothing. Right. So we're putting them in the bags. We get them back. We get done with the day. We go back to the hotel. And the next day we're leaving to come home. Well, no, we're coming south. We're heading home. And I told my wife, I said, let me go get the car, which we took her mom's car, my mother-in-law. We took her car. She has a big expedition. So right. So it's in a parking garage. So I'm like, all right, let me go in here, and I get the car, and I open the door, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they left those shells in the car overnight in the back, and it smells like seafood had rotten in the back. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I'm like, all right, let me get in there, and I'm like, I'm trying to crank the window. I crank the car, and I roll all four windows down, and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, it's getting a little bit better, So I leave the parking garage and it's just got like this little turn area where the front of the hotel's on one side, and I pull up and everybody's standing out there with their luggage. We're ready to go. And I said, all right, let's load it up. And we start opening the doors, and all of a sudden the kids yell, crabs, crabs. Those shells, they had crabs in them.
Oh, no.
Like big hermit crabs, huge hermit crabs. I mean, those things are like this, they were.
Oh my gosh, they were that
like they're like over there, like
yeah,
they're like I pick things up and put them down, you know. And
we ate everything on your floorboard.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, Jace has 2 hermit crabs at the house, Colby and Jack. Yeah. He likes Colby Jack cheese. I don't know. So anyways, he has those. I said, hey, just put them in the bag. We'll take them home. Yeah. You can put them in there with Colby and Jack. He goes, Billy, they will eat Colby and Jack. Because they're about this big.
These guys are wild. These are the Arnold Schwarzenegger.
They're like they're feral. They're over there like, we are wild, baby. Is the exterior of your home or business covered in dirt, mildew, or mold? Driveway or walkway stained? Pressure King can make your siding, deck, vents, and concrete look new again with no damage. Pressure King has cleaned the exterior of houses and businesses all over Sumter County area. Usually it takes less than a day and costs less than you would expect. Call AJ at 352-457-7209. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm like, we're like trying to scoop them up, and we got them and we're throwing them in the parking lot.
Oh gosh.
So as we're leaving, people are like looking at us like, what are they doing? You know? So I got on there later, and I was going to put on the review, like 2 stars, like, this hotel has crabs.
Now they do.
Crabs in the parking lot. And they're like, oh, we're not going there, kids.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I couldn't believe how we never saw them.
Right.
And I'm like, but they were like like moving around. Right.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh. It was
imagine horrible. Like nothing, like it just stunk, and then you're on your way home, and all of a sudden like these hermit crabs come out from underneath the seat,
emerge, and you're like No, what was worse is I'm like, we get home and they don't come out, and then my mother-in-law's driving.
Oh my god!
And they come over there, one scraping her leg,
she's like, "What's going on?" Pulls it up.
Yeah. Hey, mama.
Yeah. Oh man. That's funny.
Can you drop me off at the next right?
That's fun.
So I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I want you everybody to, because I just found this out, but I want you to tell the story. You have how many kids?
I have. Oh, you want me to do it? So I have 4 daughters.
Yes.
Hence the fingernail polish. If anybody's watching, that's why I'm a girl dad. So I have 4 daughters. They are 9, 6, 3, and brand new. They were all born. All of them were born on August 25th. Natural. Nothing was scheduled. So they all share a birthday party, all exactly 3 years apart from each other.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, my last one's technically still a preemie because she was born a month early. My wife developed preeclampsia towards the end, which is really scary. She was suspected on my last one, on my third, to have it. So that's why we had to go to the hospital, and we went to the hospital on the 23rd. So there was these kids were meant to come on the same day. So she had suspected, which is high blood pressure and stuff like that, but like her kidneys could shut down.
Yeah, very risky.
Her blood pressure when we went to the hospital was like 160 over 110. So very, very, very dangerous. They call it the silent killer, and stuff like that. But what's wild is kind of like, think back to like COVID, right? Like I said, I wish COVID was like you turned purple and had polka dots or something, like you knew a differentiator, because it was like a cold. Like you just felt like, oh, I had a cold, but then you felt really crappy. So it was like, maybe I have a flu, but no, really had COVID. So just like with preeclampsia, all of it was very similar to like late stages of pregnancy. Like you got swollen, you felt run down, you had like a little headache. But this was like, if you have a headache and like your vision got blurry. So my wife's vision did end up getting pretty blurry, and that's when we checked her blood pressure. She was on bed rest and was 160, so they told us to go to the hospital. But she's great. She was born 35 weeks. So anybody that's like, oh, it's planned or anything if anybody knows a medical professional, they're not going to say a baby should exit their happy place sooner than they need to, unless medically, unless for a medical reason. So she was born at 35 weeks. So and she's a fighter, man. We went to a hospital that had a better, like that had a NICU to it. I think like a class 3, they call it. And she didn't need to go. She came out crying. They did skin to skin. They didn't have to take her. The only thing that they had to do was they had to take her for like an hour because of her body temperature. Yeah, to like 92. So they were just keep her bundled up, and then then they were like, well, do you want a bottle feeder or do you want a breastfeed her? So we breastfed all the kids. I didn't say I don't do any of that.
I was gonna say, do you help him?
I listen. I made the joke. I said, you remember Meet the Fockers, like where Robert De Niro is wearing the fake chest? If I could, I would. So like they came in and she's like, she might not latch, she might not do this, and it was and she did. She ate like a champ. So everything that they said like a 35 weeker shouldn't do or could possibly do, she did. And she's gaining weight. We had to go back to the doctors every day after we got to come home. They had to check her belly Reuben, which is like jaundice, and then they had to check her body weight and make sure she was gaining weight. She was gaining very slowly, but she was gaining. So she's a fighter. So we're just blessed that everything, to this experience, having this baby was like, like, yes, I have a big mouth. I told everybody in the hospital, like all my babies were born on the 25th, but again, it's a medical thing. Like, they wouldn't have done it if it shouldn't have been done. And actually on the 24th, they started administering my wife this medicine that would like help induce labor, like get her body going. And the nurses are like, okay, well, 2, like normally you can take 1 every 4 hours, and typically it takes 2 for everybody to get ramped. She had to have 5 doses.
Oh my gosh!
Like, so they were like, so that meant that this baby was supposed to come with their sister. Like, you had every reason to have this baby earlier, but your body and the will and everything, like they didn't put us in a room and forget about us. Like, I mean, these nurses were in every 15 minutes. They had to hook my wife up to magnesium to help her blood pressure and all this other stuff. So they kept calling Valentina a mag baby. So which really like cools them off, like really like chills them out. So they were like, oh, she's a mag baby, so she might not do this. So she's a mag baby, so she might not latch. She really, fought it and did what she could do.
Awesome.
So no, it's been a real blessing. So and my family, like the girls love it. I mean, they absolutely love it. It's their fun family fact, right? Like they have something for the rest of their lives that they can share with people that makes them different. We have gained with my third, we gained notoriety, I should say. We did the Gambit of Today show and Good Morning America and People. We were on People. We were in a People magazine. We were on the Kelly Clarkson show and everything like that for 3 kids. So to have it happen a 4th time, again, we're in the news again. And it's really cool. And the comments that we get are awesome. We get the ones that are like, oh, I share birthdays with my grandma or my sisters, like these really fun, positive comments. And I think that's why we're a really nice feel good story, is because it's something that other people can share in with, maybe not to the extent of us, but they can still share a piece of that, and they get to tell people that, and it's neat to see other people like it and share it and all that other stuff. So it's been definitely a fun ride. But my kids, like when it comes to their birthday parties, dude, we have one massive blowout party. Like we talked to all of them, and we're like last year, Mia was still too young. So we did, I can't remember if it was like the Wiggles or something like that for her. And then for my other two, it was like, well, what kind of birthday do you want? And one wanted a mermaid and one in Barbie. So we did a mermaid Barbie and party, with I think Barney or something like that. So we just combined them, and they all get their own separate cakes.
Yeah.
And this year, we did a Wonka party. Have you seen that movie? The new Willy Wonka movie. It's called Wonka.
Yeah, I've seen the. Yeah,
we love that movie. And so the kids, we were in the car and we were talking about birthday parties, like what kind of party do you guys want? And we kind of threw out some ideas, and I was like, what if you guys do like a Wonka party? And they all three were like, yeah, Wonka party. So we had this massive Wonka party. They all get to invite their friends, and me and my wife had talked about it. We're like, do we go conservative, and have each kid invite like 3 friends and do pizza out? And we're like, no, this is their day, so we have 100 people at our house, and we feed people, and we got a big slide for this one and stuff like that. So they love having a giant party.
That's
they
so
love
cool.
Sharing their presents. They get their own cakes. They all get their own presents, and we always, and we tell people, it's like, like if you're coming as like Sophia's friend, like by no means do you have to do anything for the other two, and we just know so many blessed people that, they do or they don't, and none of the kids ever are like opening up gifts and like ever like, you got more than me, or, oh, I wanted that, or nothing. Like,
right.
They know I opened it. And then once it goes down to the playroom, it's free play.
That's right? Free game.
But that would be like anybody, that's like if me and you were brothers, like it was your birthday and then you get a toy. It's like, a week later, it's our toy, we play with it, and stuff like that. So one of the comments that we get a lot is like, it must suck to share a birthday. And I'm like, my kids don't view it that way. Like everybody gets their own birthday, but my girls, they get to say that they share their birthday with all of their sisters. Right. So like now it's really cool for them to be little and like sharing their birthday party. And my oldest and my 9 and 6-year-old are like always like biting at the bit when we meet people. Like I'm even talking like the grocery store attendant. Like they look at me and we're just talking, and like they have it now gauged, like how much has mommy or daddy talked to these people, to then let them know, and they love it because they're like, oh my God, that's so wild, that's so cool, and stuff like that. So they really do love sharing it because it is it's a unique thing. Like, like they don't like, and me and my wife keep talking about like when they get older, like that's such it's a holiday. It's a Lammert holiday now. Like to have all of their birthdays on one day. So right. That's I'm a piece part of that, but it's my wife and my kids' claim to fame.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following: Webster Ace Hardware and Farm Supply are generous sponsors for today's podcast. They have been a family-owned business for 27 years. This helpful hardware store sells items such as archery, Ariat clothing and boots, Wrangler jeans, case knives, Hammond's candies, and live fishing gear. They also have a full selection of hardware, RV supply, propane, Ben Moore, Royal & Clark, and Kingston paints. You need a barn or fencing job done? Custom barn kits and roofing metal are provided at your local Ace Hardware store. What about a new grill for the yard? Traeger, Big Green Egg, Weber, and Blackstone are found here, along with all the accessories to go with them. Stock up your workshop with DeWalt, Milwaukee, or Craftsman tools. They got you covered. Remember to go to ace.com to shop their entire line to have items shipped directly to the store. I love it. I was going to say, you've only got to get 2 holidays now. Christmas and birthdays are all one bang.
Right. Yep. Oh yeah. And actually it was really funny because this last one, we have made some very, very good friends here, and the dads like kind of cornered me in the kitchen, and I swear, like looking back, I feel like it was like rehearsed, but they were all like, one dad was like, you only have, Nick, you're a genius. You only have like, you throw one party, and they're like, and then the other dads were like, on the same day. And then the other dad goes, you only have to feed people one time, and you only have to rent a blow up slide one time. And it was like, yeah. And you think about it, it's like, I mean, yeah, I mean, not that I wouldn't for all three, for
Right.
all of them,
Right.
but to do it once, like I have to have a massive amount of people in my house one day, and I only have to rent a slide one time. I only have to feed all of these people one time.
Yeah.
Which is not, that has nothing to do with that, but it's a fun way to think of it. But my kids really really love it, and so there's things like we were in the hospital, and I'm still waiting to hear back. Like we were in the hospital that morning. She was born at like 8:11. And the kids were still with grandma and grandpa and stuff, and the nurses are coming in, and we've seen the baby, and we're now in the recovery room, and I'm on my phone, and my wife's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm applying for Guinness Book World Records. I've just reached out to Ripley's, believe it or not, And so as it stands, and Billy, I want like your opinion on this, and viewers, listeners, everybody. The record is five kids born on the same day. We just wanted four. No, we just want four. Four is my thing, right? But it was five kids born all on the same day. That's the record. But I have 4 girls born 3 years apart from each other.
It's true.
All on the same day.
Right.
So my question, that's different, right? That's almost more impossible because they're all 3 years apart. It's not random years, and that's what the other kind of thing. The other thing's kind of like random, where this is like that. And again, we didn't plan any of this. Like anybody that has kids know that conception is not as easy as dropping a package off at FedEx and getting a receipt back saying the shipping details, right? So of course we talked about it, and when you look at the year, like you have to, we considered Christmas, and when the part of the year was, and we liked the summertime, and sometimes, like, again, my 4th wasn't due until the end of September.
Yeah.
So we, my kids joked about it. Like Sophia would wish on stars and stuff like that. Like, oh, I wish we could, share it. And we were laughing like, oh, this one's going to need therapy because it's the only one that doesn't have the same birthday, and laughing about it. But really, it's just truly meant to be, But again, that's not really how pregnancy works. Like you can't say, okay, 9 months before is the 13th, so that's it.
Yeah. Here's our deadline.
We were trying for a long time, for a couple months before it took. And that's just how it is. Pregnancy doesn't take right away. That's
right.
If it did, there'd be a lot more people in this world.
Yeah. Well, I think that this is something that's going to make your family. This will be something y'all can truly cherish and be, like you said, like it'll be your own tradition, your own mark holiday. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think it's a awesome thing. I mean, my God, the logic behind the whole thing, the whole, the odds.
1.28 billion. Billy, I should play, but I have a
Nick,
better
you ought to
chance
play
of winning the
lottery.
lottery.
Yes.
Twice.
Yes.
I have a better chance of winning it twice than to do what we did. So, and it was all natural. It was all, nothing was C-sectioned. Yes, she had to be induced, but it was medically induced. And anybody that knows a medical professional, they're not just going to do it to say, hey, look at these birthdays. Like, I mean, there could be severe complications with children and stuff like that. So, but no, it's fun. We love the little bit of, fame, as they call it, or whatever like that. It's my kids get a kick out of it. Like we were on Good Morning America the other day. They mentioned we were not on it, but they mentioned us. Was it Good Morning? No, it was the Today Show. It was the Today Show, the third hour. We were in the last like 3 minutes of the show, and they got to talk about us. So it was like the panel of them, like Al Roker sitting there, and they pull up our pictures, and our girls are sitting there watching themselves on TV, and it's like they understand how special that is, and they love it. Like we don't feed it to them, and they love the notoriety because like when they tell people, they get to tell them, and like the other day I had to drop something off at the hospital. It was they lent me something, and we're in the elevator, and I just have my 3-year-old and 6-year-old with me, and there's a guy in the elevator, and my 3-year-old's like, they were like, oh, you guys are so cute. And they're like, oh, thank you. And he's like, oh, how old are you? And again, we had to go 6 floors. It was very quick. And she's like, I'm 6 and I'm 3. And then Juliana's like, but I have a 9-year-old and a newborn, and we were all born on the same day. And the guy's like, really? Just I think for them, it's that initial face
Yeah,
of like trying to wrap their head around what this little kid said. Like, oh, did they
absolutely.
misspeak? Or they're like that unsure, and they're like, no, we have this same day. Like they look at one of us, and I'm like, no, yeah, they're all born on the same day, and they're like, wow, that's amazing. And I think that just for them, it just is like
Yeah.
for anybody that does like stage, it's like an applause, and stuff like that. They love it. So they see how important that is, and how special.
Well, I think it's a very special thing, like I said, and then like I said, the girls will. That's, I mean, obviously, it's something that they'll never forget. But I think it's such a cool thing.
Thank you.
But I was gonna, you hit on something just a second ago when you said on stage, and I just lost you. Hold on a second. So you touched on something earlier just a second ago about you were saying the theater. Is it true that you did some improv as well?
I did improv a long time ago. I would have liked to do more. So I did. So when I worked at Disney, they offer a thing called stage, I think, and it's for cast members, and it's put on by cast members, and they could do shows and all this other stuff. So I was blessed to be a part of a show by my friend Ken, who did A Midsummer Night's Dream, and that was a lot of fun. Pure Shakespeare. I'd never really done anything like that before.
Yep.
Like on stage like that. I've done entertainment. That's the other thing. I've always done entertainment, like at theme parks and stuff like that, like I did at Disney. But I had never done like stage things before. So being at Midsummer, that was really, really cool. And I met a guy there that was like, hey, like I was thinking about doing this improv thing through stage. Would you want to audition for it? And I was like, yeah, sure.
Right.
So I did, and that's actually how I met Jill. She was on my podcast. She was really cool. I met some really, really cool people doing that show, but I had never done it before. And it was so fun. It was just so fun to kind of take a seat, a back seat. That's the only way to do improv, is you kind of have to take a back seat and let you're like actively listen, and you can't. And I say back seat in the essence of like you can't go into your head like, well, I'm going to try to hit this character. I'm going to try to say this. I'm not going to say this, bring up this political joke, bring up a funny color or a name, or, this, a drunken character or something like that. Like you can't, you can, I guess you can. I mean, that's not the way I did it. So I took a back seat,
Right.
and just kind of like let my brain and body do whatever was thrown at me, because again, you don't know. It's not like theater where it's like rehearsed and all this other stuff. Like in improv, you rehearse the games so you understand what the game is, or what is expected during that segment. But as far as like rehearsing like characters or bits or anything like that, like you can't do. And sometimes we would rehearse and we're like, damn, that was really funny. but it was just us core people,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So we really had fun with it, and all those people I'm still friends with, and talk to everyone, in a blue moon and everything like that.
For almost 30 years, 75 Chrome Shop has been a family-run business with a dedicated team of longtime employees. We stay ahead of the curve in the ever-changing trucking industry, providing top-notch customer service and product knowledge. Whether you're looking for the latest chrome accessories or hard-to-find parts, we've got you covered. We offer aftermarket chrome for all big rigs, custom vinyl lettering, acrylic signs, and tags. Our 10,000 square foot facility, the oldest chrome shop in the South, houses a mechanic shop for oil and tire changes and chrome installation. Plus, we have a huge selection of lights for every vehicle on the road. Don't miss our annual truck show every April, featuring over 200 trucks and family-friendly entertainment. Visit 75 Chrome Shop today. Your truck's new best friend.
And actually, I think I wore this shirt. I think I've had this shirt for a really long time. I think I wore this shirt one of the nights. But one of the thing that really kind of stuck out to me, that I still laugh about. It was like opening night. I think we only did like a 3 or 4 show run, right? And we're in the backstage and we're getting ready to go out, and Danielle goes, "This, I don't want to do this." And we're like, "What?" And she goes, "It's not gonna be fair. Like Nick's just gonna walk out there and everybody's gonna love him. Like he can literally say nothing and people are gonna love him." And I was like, I am still freaking out. Like I'm like, what? Like I'm like stage fright still. And they're like, I'm like, wait, what do you mean? And she goes, "It's just you. Just you are gonna walk out there and people aren't gonna like instantly like you." And I was like, wearing a whole like I was just like the tall dopey guy, right? And I was like, "No, I don't think so." And she was obviously like kidding. Like she was like laughing with me, and everybody else was like laughing about it. And so like F you, Nick. And I was like, and they're like, "And welcome to the stage." And I'm like, "Thanks." So we walk out. So we walk out on stage, and I'm sitting there going, I was like, "Oh, I hope she's right." But I mean, okay. So then we all sit down, and I thought to myself, you know what? Let's give it a go. So I looked at her, and the host guy almost starts talking. I said, "Wait," and I just stood up and I held up my hands and I went like this, like I curled my fingers, and everybody starts clapping and like, "Woo, yeah." Just look down and I'm like, "Oh, you're right."
It's just that easy.
Just that easy. No, it was like I could have failed. I could have stood up and everybody would have just been like, crickets, But
Like, what is he doing? Is he stretching?
was
Is he about to do some yoga? What is he doing?
So then after the whole thing was over, she was like, way to open the show for us. Like, way to get everyone laughed in. So that was fun.
I never got to do like a real show, but the ones at Disney were pretty. I don't want to say they weren't real. I'm talking about like for a 1,000 people, an audience.
They were in A-League. They were in A-League. Like,
this was like,
they were very friends and family and cast members, would go. It wasn't like people at the park or outside people would see, like maybe other cast members that know of stage are like, "Oh, I like theater," and it was cheap. I don't think it cost even to go see it or anything like that. So, but yeah,
I would have loved to have done that though. You know what I mean? Like it would have been. I think I kind of knew about it, but what I was saying was like, do you remember Sword in the Stone?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I was there and I was with Merlin for like almost a year. Oh, okay. And it was like one of the coolest things I ever got to do. Mm-hmm. And some of the things that we did, it was amazing. Like the things that I tolerated, the tech would hit the wrong button and it would make the wrong sound effect. And he would be like, he'd look over and he'd go, he called me Sir Billy. He's like, "Sir Billy, why don't you go back to wherever we were and take something for that?" Like I had gas or something like, and I'm over there like, that wasn't me. That wasn't me.
Yeah.
And, but I learned a lot about improvisation, like improv and stuff like that from those little shows that people have no idea what's going on. I mean, and then you get like one time we did a show, we did Sword in the Stone, and we went out. We had our time to go out. Well, we didn't know that the castle show was running behind, and at the end of every castle show, what is there? Fireworks. So he has a bird that he pulls out of his bag, and it's the royal selecting bird. So the bird, he would let the bird go, and where the bird's flying around, and he's like, "Well, he's looking, but he's really looking. The bird's gone. It's gone.
Bird left.
Yeah, the bird left. As as it should be. The bird's going to leave, obviously. So one time the castle show's late, and he lets the bird go, and all of a sudden the fireworks, ba-boom, 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 and this bird goes, woo.
Oh no!
I guess had a heart attack. I don't know. It was crazy, and so I had to go and like there's a guy that walks by with the sweeper, and he's just like, sweeps it up. Oh my God. We're over there like,
oh man.
Just like little things like that. You have to. You don't know what's going to be thrown at you,
right?
what people are going to say. It's like working with little kids, the things that they'll come up with, you're like, where in the world did you come up with that?
Right. Like, it's almost like a dream sequence. Like whenever you have a dream and your brain is just pulling from random things throughout the day, that's like talking to a child. Like they just take things that they have seen in that week or that day, and they just, like mommy and daddy could have gotten in a fight and they overheard something, and then they're just like, I'm gonna blurt that on you. And it's like,
we would have this guy that worked with Jack. We were at Crystal Palace, and he said we would do these things like they had kids say the darndest things, and it was like our version was what kids say at Crystal Palace. And so some of them are like of course every time I do I have to do the little kid voice, but it's like, my dad has a shirt with a maple leaf on it. It says legalize this. I guess we're going to Canada. And you're like, what?
What? Nope. What do you think it is, kid?
No, that is not a maple leaf. That is not a maple leaf.
Right. That's what his mommy told him.
But little kids, I don't know what booze is, but mom said she had a lot of it when I was born or when I was made. Right. When I'm like, oh my gosh, like just like little things like that. But that would keep us entertained. But people, like, you hear stuff throughout the restaurant that people would say, and we would like have like we didn't write them down, but you'd have things like that would keep you on your toes, and it was like almost like your own little improv show. You're like, oh my gosh, this is
so working at the Pirates League, that was like me. I was face to face with kids, and that was the best. Like I had, however long, like again, if we weren't busy, like we would take longer with the kid. If we were a little bit busy, we would go through it, and stuff. And it got to a point of like, if you've ever heard of like even like stage people like that are like on Broadway or do stage, do the same show over and over again. Mm-hmm. Like they try to do things backstage to like throw the people off on stage or whatever like that. And so it's the same thing. Like, there were some pirates in that room, like myself, that every experience would be different. You had like your little bag of tricks that I would pull out every, some stories and this and that, and then we had other pirates like Pirate Johnny that would love my Johnny. That every kid that sat down got the same script. And like with Johnny, like so like one time we took like, I think we took like Brothers or something like that, and we were sitting next to each other, and I start on Johnny's script, and he go looking at me going, like I'd be like up all the way to the crow's nest or something like that, and he's like, and he didn't know what to do because he's like, oh, I think we're gonna do this too. And then like about 5 or 10 minutes in, he's like, oi, if my brother don't stop be saying what he's saying, and then we get done, and he's like, Nick, you can't do that to me. He didn't know what to do.
Oh my gosh!
And then one of the times, one of my friends did something. It was like a Back to the Future thing. Like we referenced it, like we were pirates though. Like he said something about you must be from the future, and I was sitting next to him, and we weren't talking, we weren't doing anything, and I just turned around and go, "Great Scott!" And he about fell over, laughing so hard, and stuff like that. But things like in that position was one of the most rewarding things I've ever done.
So cool
to be with these kids and stuff like that. Like one of my favorite stories is my little friend Nick, whose name was Nick too, and he came in, and him and his family are from New York, and he came in, and he was high functioning, and he had a dog named Mickey with him that would help and everything like that. And so Mickey was our first pirate dog. And so they got me, and I was Cannonball. That was my pirate name was Cannonball Nick. And so I got him, and it was just like me and the mom were talking, and he was very, very excited, and to be there, and we were talking, and we just had this great time, and the parents were really, really awesome. And then we made the dog, put like the little bandana on the dog, and then like I don't know, 4 or 5 months go by, and then here comes Nick and his family again, and so they're like, we went Cannonball Nick, and so like every year, they would like come like 2 or 3 times, and they would always come to the Pirates League, and every time I met with Nicholas, like he would talk a little bit more, he'd be more interactive, and then I got to a point of like where I got to know the parents really, really well, just from the interactions and stuff like that. And they were like,
Right.
the one time they were like, we don't know if you can, but we'd love to, have you for dinner, take you to dinner or whatever like that. Like, come hang out with us if you wouldn't. Like, Nicholas is like, we come to Disney, but it's to see Cannonball Nick. Like, that's
Right.
that's what we love to do,
Right.
So then, like, for me, that was like, man, I'm a mainstay. Like, I've made mine. I have families that come back to say hi to me,
Yep.
and so then I did. I was like, you know what? I'm starving. I work here for piddles, and but I always made sure I had like a pirate shirt on, or I was always stayed like Cannonball Nick,
Yeah.
and it grew into a friendship, and
Yep.
they came to our wedding,
Oh, that's so cool.
yeah, and we're still friends with them. They know my girls now, and it's Uncle Leo and Aunt Lisa. Like, they know Nick, and Nick's great. He's in a band and all this other
Yeah.
stuff. So it was really neat to see like little like 8-year-old Nick now is like 20 something. So it's
Yeah.
like is really neat to see. So for me, that's they've grown with us, and meeting my wife. That's where I met my wife, was working at the Pirates League.
Whether your water is supplied by a public municipality or a private well, for residential or commercial use, Purified Water Services LLC has the solutions to provide you with simply clean water. We offer a complete line of professional water filtration equipment and accessories. Soft water makes a difference you can see and feel. Water heater and appliances last longer with less maintenance. Iron and H2S filters eliminate iron stains and offensive rotten egg odors, and protects your water softener equipment from iron fouling. No matter what your problem is, Purified Water Services LLC has a solution. Contact Kenny Williams at 352-446-2709. Promotional consideration paid for by the following. Webster Ace Hardware and Farm Supply are generous sponsors for today's podcast. They have been a family-owned business for 27 years. This helpful hardware store sells items such as archery, Ariat clothing and boots, Wrangler jeans, case knives, Hammond's candies, and live fishing ware. They also have a full selection of hardware, RV supply, propane, Ben Moore, Royal & Clark, and Kingston paints. You need a barn or fencing job done? Custom barn kits and roofing metal are provided at your local Ace Hardware store. What about a new grill for the yard? Traeger, Big Green Egg, Weber, and Blackstone are found here, along with all the accessories to go with them. Stock up your workshop with DeWalt, Milwaukee, or Craftsman tools. They got you covered. Remember to go to ace.com to shop their entire line to have items shipped directly to the store. Oh, cool.
So yeah, we met working there.
Yeah.
And I was the annoying pirate guy, and and I wheezed my way into her life, and and then she finally saw the light. No. So we met working the Pirates League. We it was fantastic. So that's why, like, we invited Nick and them to our wedding, because they really did mean something to us and stuff like that. So,
that's so cool when you have the interaction with a family that's like, they almost feel like they're your family, even though you've never met them before.
Right. And it still warms my heart, just to know what I meant to that family. Like, I was doing my job, and at one point I wasn't doing my job anymore. I was talking with family. I realized that I was making a difference in what I did and what I could do, and talking to these kids. Like, some kids, you're just a blip in their vacation, and some kids, you were their vacation.
Absolutely.
Families that would come back 3 days later on their park hopper or whatever like that, and the kid's still in their sash or barely has the makeup on because they want to take it off. And it's like, I never really wanted to be like, oh, hey kid, like, like, kind of brush it off, right? Because for 4 days they were probably being told, well, we'll go back, we'll go see them, and you always just try to make it special and stuff like that.
Right.
And I really, and a lot of us really realized, I think, what we were doing there. We weren't just an experience, we, a lot of times we did different things to people's lives, and it was neat, very neat to be a part of that.
I have a similar interaction with the family. They are the Kavanaughs from Pittsburgh, and that story I told you when I came from Pittsburgh, I drove to Pittsburgh to hang out with them because they were so nice. Of course, I was the first time I went there. I was in New York, and I went up there to do headshots for people because I was doing photography at the time on the side. I did some headshots for people for my friend Kimberly up there and her friends, and I went up there, drove across, and went to Pittsburgh, and got to meet them in the parks a few times. They invited me up there. A super nice family. Jessica and JR and their kids are Jocelyn, Bethany, and Eric, Big E, and such a great family. We went on vacations together. I've been the night that I lost my fire extinguisher in Parade. I stayed with them they had a place at Saratoga Springs, I believe it was Saratoga. I stayed the night with them, slept on the couch, and then we would go to vacation. They go to Singer Island down in West Palm all the time, and they just treated me like I was one of their kids, and I was like a nanny. Like I kept the kids. I kept the kids. We would do things, pool stuff. The kids are great, and we met another family who, while down in Singer Island, we met another family who, the mom, Shannon, used to work at Disney. Just randomly walk on the, you're sitting at the beach. Oh, I work at Disney. Oh, where do you? I used to work at Disney, and we ended up knowing the same people. And so we got to know them really well. And every year they would go the same time. And those two families were there with me, down in Singer Island, West Palm. And we did that probably like, oh gosh, 5 or 6 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. But they just, like I said, they're very special. They're my Pittsburgh family. I mean, I got family up there that on my mom's side, but I went up there to see them because they basically just like you said, hey, you want to go to dinner? Yeah, I'd love to go to dinner. I haven't eaten all day. Yeah. But it was
tunnel food.
yeah. I had Muscateria, a hamburger that's been in au jus sauce for an hour and a half. If I'm like, that's the fresh one. But that's those people were the reason why it took me 16 years to leave, because I didn't want to leave them. I didn't want to go. Right. I didn't want to leave. That's what made it very special. I could tell. I tell people this all the time. They always say, when I was working at Disney, you could say, oh, I do this for a living. I'm an engineer. I'm in blah blah blah. Nobody. Oh, that's cool. And they don't ever ask you more. You say, I work at Disney, and they go, oh, where do you work at Disney? And they want to know. They want to know. So it was a conversation piece. And I'm telling you, I've known them for 14, 15 years, and it's amazing. They would come. This is how we met. They would come. The Kavanaughs would come to the parks. The kids that since the kids were born, they took the kids every year, and they would. Jessica would make them outfits, costumes, and they would dress up like. They had attendant clothes. They did guest relations. Wow. They did, yes, and it was detailed. Jessica is very detailed. She's very good at what she does, and she had those costumes down to like a science. And but she wasn't. It wasn't like borderline. It
was fun.
Copyright stuff. It was fun. It was just like what people do for Halloween or when they run a marathon or something. They always wear the clothes, and just so you know exactly when you see it, you go, oh, right, that's a guest relations. Or I mean, Bethany or Jocelyn, I can't remember which one is. They had the blue, and she had the little like the equestrian, the rider's hat, and the prompt. I'm talking about everything. It wasn't like, hey, that kid looks like one. They're like, oh my gosh, does that kid work here? But
that's awesome.
Great family. So I know exactly how you feel, and that's my Disney family. And then there were other people that I would talk to. It was funny because when I was at Pirates, I would so my day was I would start with you guys. I would be from like 8 to 5, and then I would drive the night parade. So I would tell people during the day, I'm like, hey, make sure you say what's up to the, whatever I was driving. They're like wave at it or whatever. and I would have people do that. And I knew they probably wouldn't do it, but if they did, I always saw them. And like I was doing like pink snail or something like that, gold snail, orange snail, or pink snail. I can't remember which one it was, but the head bows. You have a little thing you push down and the head bows. Right. And I would turn to them and go, like this. And then they're like, oh my gosh, like he wasn't, the dad's like, oh my God, he wasn't lying. Like, I'm like, no, people, if you come see me in parade, I'm going to acknowledge you, whatever.
Right. And that's actually how I met Jason. I don't know if I brought that up. We met working at Tomorrowland.
I didn't know that.
We've been friends this whole time. It was two Jasons. I met Jason, who's no longer with us, and then Jason. So they were Big Jason and Little Jason. So gotcha. Little Jason's the one that I do the podcast with. So
gotcha.
So we've known each other since our Disney days.
Catfish Johnny's Restaurant, serving the Lake Pennsauken and surrounding areas since 1990. For the last 33 years, we have strived to serve great food at great prices and a friendly, casual atmosphere. If seafood isn't your thing, our burgers or wings are the best around. We have daily specials too. Check us out on Facebook or Instagram for more information. What did you do in Tomorrowland?
So we worked. So it was the three of us. We worked on the Stitch, Astro Orbiter, and then the
gotcha.
People Mover.
Gotcha.
And we became so good, the three of us, that anytime that they needed to get the ride, like. For rides, they have a thing called OHRC, I think, or something like that. Yep. They have to have so many people go through the ride per hour to make sure that they're getting the most out of it and stuff like that. So anytime that they were lacking behind or whatever, they would pull us three out and put us there. And they'd say, get it moving. And we did in the most Disney-rific way. They'd put us on Astro Orbiter, and we would Jace, little big Jason would run the ride. I do the spiel to tell everybody, it's funny enough how people don't know how to stay in their groups and put a seat buckle on, and that's all I had to do. And then little Jason, who's on who hosts the podcast with me, he'd be down at the bottom. Well, he's a shit, and he'd tell people it's Nick's birthday, and it wasn't my birthday. So people would come up and be like, "Oh, happy birthday!" And I'm like, "Yeah." We would just go with it and stuff like that. But the management would pull. They knew we were the little rascals of Tomorrowland, and we would cause. We would do different things and like cause mischief, but we were good, and so they would pull us into different places. And at Stitch, which is no longer there, they had a microphone, and it was just like the holding area, like it was like the line, and then they held you, and then they opened the doors. But that position had a microphone. And that's all I needed. It was an unscripted micro. So I'd have people like yelling and hooping and hollering and and so like anytime that they had executives come through, they're like, put Nick and Stitch greeter, put Nick and Stitch greeter, and so the three of us really did run amok over there, and it was a lot of fun.
Let me ask you this: since you were in Tomorrowland, I don't think I've ever asked anybody on Tomorrowland side, but why is it that when you're walking in the Utilidor and you come from Main Street, there's music, and then it's dead quiet, and then you get to Fantasyland and the music comes back on?
Buzz Lightyear didn't like music. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, dude! I was like you're walking, and all of a sudden it goes quiet, and then you're like, am I about to get jumped in the parking lot? Even though it's not parking lot, you're in the tunnel. I have a funny story about Tomorrowland that I tell people. When you first start Disney, back when I started, you did your traditions, and then they did a thing called Once Upon a Time Is Now.
Right.
Did you do that?
Which is training around the park.
Okay, right. So you did for 8 hours. For people that don't know, it's 8-hour shift, and you'll ride 3 or 4 rides, and normally it's the ones that like the People Mover, Small World, the ones that can move a lot of people. Bigger.
You're not doing Space
Pirates. No, you're not getting on Space Mountain.
Yeah. You're doing the boat rides.
Haunted Mansion, we did one. We did Haunted Mansion too. But at the end of the day, you're at MO8, which is above the park. Is it upstairs? And you have classroom up there, and they. At the end of the day, everybody's like, you're new, you're psyched, you're meeting new people, you're networking, you're like, friends, potentially friends, lifetime friends. You never know.
You work in fitness, and then I work in Tomorrowland. We'll see each other all the time.
Yeah. You want to go to PI, you want to go to Jelly Rolls.
Yeah, you want to go, Jelly Rolls, buddy. I spent many nights at Jelly Rolls. Mm-hmm.
We'll sidebar Jelly Rolls in a minute. I got to tell you something there. Yes. So anyways, I went, and this is back when cell phones were not really cell phones. They were just like big paperweights.
Right.
Like I had an AT&T. I think it was a Motorola. Like it was, you could hold it. You could prop a door open with it. Right. So at the end of the day, everybody's like, oh, hey, let me get your digits. Where it's all about because we didn't text, we didn't email, you're like, we didn't have Facebook, nothing.
So right. Charge minutes.
Exactly. Free nights and weekends.
Mm-hmm.
So I told everybody's like, yeah, they're like, Billy, what's your number now? And I go to pull not that I didn't know my phone, but I was going to pull it out to get their number. And I go, oh my God, I can't find my phone. And that's like losing your leg. You're like, where could I have left it? And not noticed. Right. So while we were on the people mover, it fell out of my pocket. As big as that thing was, I'm surprised that I didn't trip over it when getting out of the car.
You didn't feel like a 10-pound difference in that one pocket.
So I told him, I said, so I had the guy, they had the house phones everywhere.
Right.
They call the people mover. Yeah, we got it. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, all right, crisis averted, So I'm like, we're done at like 3:15-ish. Well, what happens then? 3:00 parade is coming down Main Street. You can't get down the road. So we're on the side where Kate
couldn't park that sucker.
No. So we're on Casey's side wrong side to begin with.
Of the
right.
Street.
So I'm like, like I said, this is like my third day at Disney.
Fire hose. You're drinking from a fire hose at that point.
Yes. So I'm like, okay, I guess I got to go downstairs, like in the utilidor. So I'm like, all right. So I'm like, how hard could it be, So I go down there, and there's a map down there. It's like 30 years out of date. Not really, because they weren't open that much.
A big circle.
Yeah, I know. But I'll
just pick the right way.
But here's the thing: the stairwells and the elevators threw me off because they were all numbered, right? So I'm looking at the map and I go, all right, Tomorrowland. Let's see, stairwell 30. Let's do that one. Start walking. Music stops, in that area. There's stairwell 29 and 31. There's no 30. I'm like, what? Who numbered this? So finally, I'm like, you know what? How far could 29 be off from 30? So that was the elevator to go to the Plaza restaurant.
Geez. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Right.
Too far.
So I'm a little far off, but not that far. I'm still at least I'm on the right side. Right. On the right side. But I didn't know that. I know that now, but I didn't know that. I come out, the elevator pops open, and it's in the kitchen. And I didn't know that all I had to do was go out of the elevator and take an immediate left. There's double doors, and you're in the park.
Right.
That's simple. The doors open, and they're cooking, like they're cutting, like prepping, and they all go. And I'm like, hey!
Close the door.
So the guy puts his hand and he goes, hey man, you all right? I'm like, I'm just trying to get out to the park. He goes, dude, it's literally right here. I felt so stupid. So that was my welcome to the Magic Kingdom moment. I'm like, wherever stairwell does not mean you're going to be where you are.
Where you want to be, right. That's funny.
Thanks for watching episode 2 of this 3-part podcast. Tune in next week for part 3.